You think you make your own decisions. You do not. Every choice you believe is yours is being made by something older, something deeper, something that does not care about you. It does not care about your happiness, your plans, your relationships, your dreams. It has one agenda: survival, continuation, more, always more. Schopenhauer called it the will, and he said it is running you right now as you watch this. The will made you click on this video. It made you stay in that relationship too long. It made you take that job you knew was wrong. The people around you, the ones who used you, betrayed you, disappointed you, they were not evil. They were driven, just like you. This is the hidden truth they never taught you, because a man who understands the will cannot be controlled by it. What you are about to learn was buried because it is too useful to the wrong people and too dangerous to the right ones. Stay. By the end, you will see yourself differently, and that changes everything. You have been taught that you are a rational being, that reason guides your choices, that you weigh options, consider consequences, choose wisely. This is the story they told you about yourself. Schopenhauer said this story is a flattering lie. Reason does not drive you. Reason justifies you after the will has already decided. Think about the last decision you made that you knew was wrong before you made it. You made it anyway. Then you built the explanation after. The relationship, the confrontation you avoided, the opportunity you let pass. The will moved, reason explained. This is not weakness, this is architecture. You were built this way. Every human was. The question is what you do with the knowledge. The people who exploited you, they understood this even without knowing Schopenhauer. They knew that if they triggered your will, your reason would follow. Trigger the hunger, reason finds a way to feed it. Trigger the fear, reason finds a way to flee it. They never needed to convince your mind, they only needed to reach your will. Every advertisement, every social hierarchy, every status signal, designed to reach the will, not the mind. You thought you were making choices, you were responding to triggers. There is a difference, and the difference is your freedom. The gap between trigger and response, that is where you live, or where you could live if you knew it existed. Now you know it exists, and you cannot unknow it. Every trigger you encounter from this moment, you will see it arriving. That is not comfortable. Seeing the mechanism means you can no longer pretend your choices are entirely your own, but it also means they can finally become so. Schopenhauer gave you this map, not to despair, to navigate. Now, meet the man who drew it. Arthur Schopenhauer spent his entire life trying to answer one question: what is really driving us? Not what we tell ourselves is driving us, not the noble reasons, the actual engine beneath every human action. He looked at nature first. He saw that every living thing, plant, animal, human, was driven by a single blind force, the drive to exist, to continue, to propagate. He named it the will. Not will as in willpower, will as in the fundamental drive of existence itself, blind, hungry, purposeless, unstoppable. And then he made the move that made him dangerous. He said this will is not outside you, it is you. The self you think you are is the will in costume. Your personality, your values, your carefully constructed identity, the will wearing clothes, useful clothes nonetheless. He wrote this in 1818. Every neuroscientist, every behavioral economist, every psychologist of the last century has been slowly, reluctantly confirming it. The will is the strong, blind man who carries on his shoulders the lame man who can see. Schopenhauer. The blind man is the will. The lame man is your intellect. The will carries both of you. The intellect only sees where you are going. It does not choose it. Your intellect is not weak. It is simply not in charge, and the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can actually use it. 6 lessons. Each one shows you the will at work in your life and what to do when you see it. Lesson 1. Every relationship you have ever had was 2 wills negotiating. You believed you fell in love. You believed you chose your friends. You believed connection was about souls recognizing each other. Schopenhauer said the will chose. It chose who could serve its continuation, its comfort, its status, its reproduction, its survival. This does not make love false, it makes it honest. The will does not lie, it simply wants what it wants and calls it love to make you cooperate. The people who hurt you most, the will in them was incompatible with the will in you. It was not personal, it was mechanical. Practical move. In every conflict, ask not what the person intended, but what their will needed. The answer is almost always simpler and less personal than you think. They did not betray you because you were not enough. They moved because their will found a better arrangement. Understanding this removes the wound. If this just removed something you were carrying, drop this in the comments. It was never about me, it was the will. When you see the will in others, you stop taking their behavior personally. And a man who does not take things personally is a man who cannot be destabilized. They were driven, you were in the way, or you were useful. Neither is a reflection of your worth. Lesson 2. Your ambition is the will dressed in respectable clothes. You were told ambition is noble, that striving is virtuous, that the drive to achieve more is what separates the great from the ordinary. Schopenhauer said, look closer. The drive to achieve is the will asserting itself. It is not chosen, it is felt as an urge and then performed as a virtue. This does not make your achievements meaningless, it makes them honest. You were driven, you performed, you built. That is real, regardless of what drove it. But here is where it becomes dangerous. When you identify yourself completely with your ambition, the will owns you, and anything that threatens the ambition threatens you. This knowledge is for protection, not destruction. You are not learning to kill your ambition, you are learning to hold it without being owned by it. Practical move. Once a week, ask yourself which of your current goals were chosen and which were installed by comparison, status anxiety, or the will's blind insistence on more. The goals that survive that audit, pursue them with everything. The ones that do not, release them without guilt. They were never truly yours. If you are ready to pursue only what is genuinely yours, drop this in the comments. I direct the will. It does not direct me. A man who has audited his ambitions, who pursues only what he has genuinely chosen, is a man whose drive cannot be hijacked by comparison, status, or someone else's definition of success. Lesson 3. Your anger is the will being blocked, and they know exactly how to block it. Every time you felt genuine rage, the will was being obstructed. Something it wanted was being withheld. Something it needed was being blocked. Status blocked. Territory invaded. Desire frustrated. Respect withheld. Every anger you have ever felt traces back to one of these 4. They use this deliberately. Make you angry and you become predictable, reactive, manageable. Anger is the will with its cover blown, and a man with his cover blown can be read. The boardroom provocation, the social media comment, the disrespect that was just calibrated enough to land. These are not accidents. Practical move. When anger arrives, name the obstruction before you respond. Status, territory, desire, respect? Name it. Then decide if responding serves you or serves them. Anger that is named is anger that is managed. Anger that is unnamed runs the man. And a man run by his anger is a man anyone with patience can defeat.
The coldest move available to you when someone provokes you deliberately is to see the provocation and not react. Let them watch their trigger fail. Nothing communicates power like a man who was provoked and chose not to be moved. They cannot use a weapon you have already seen, and now you have seen it.
Lesson 4. Your fear is the will protecting itself, and it is costing you everything. Fear is not weakness. It is the will performing its most ancient function, protecting the organism from threat. For most of human history, it was essential. The problem, the will cannot distinguish between a predator and a difficult conversation, between physical death and social rejection. It treats both as extinction. So you avoided the conversation, the risk, the confrontation, the choice that could change everything. The will kept you safe and small. Every dream you did not pursue, every truth you did not speak, every line you did not cross, the will was there, calling it wisdom. It was not wisdom, it was self-preservation dressed as prudence. Practical move. When fear arrives before a decision, ask one question. Am I actually in danger, or is the will protecting a comfortable version of me that needs to be outgrown? Most of the time, the answer is the second one. The will is protecting a version of you that the real you has already outgrown. If the will has been keeping you small in the name of keeping you safe, drop this in the comments. I am larger than what the will is protecting. The will wants you to survive. You want to live. Those are not the same thing. Survival is minimum. Living is chosen. And chosen living requires walking through fear the will insists is fatal. Walk through anyway. The will survive. It always does. That is literally its only skill. Lesson 5. Power does not hide. The will just taught you not to look. Every power structure you exist inside, your workplace, your social circle, your family, is a negotiation between competing wills. Nothing more, nothing moral, nothing permanent. The person at the top is not there because they deserve it. They are there because their will was stronger, better timed, or better at reading other wills. Understanding this does not make you cynical, it makes you accurate. And accuracy in reading power is the beginning of navigating it. Practical move. In every room you enter, identify whose will is dominant. How did it get there? What does it need to maintain its position? What threatens it? Once you can map the will dynamics of a room, you can move through it without being moved by it. You engage on your terms rather than theirs. The man who understands will dynamics is never surprised by betrayal, never confused by sudden coldness, never wounded by the withdrawal of approval he never should have needed. He sees the will, he respects its power, he does not pretend it does not exist, and he does not pretend the moral story told about it is the whole truth. That third position, seeing clearly without becoming cold, is the rarest and most powerful place a man can stand. If you are ready to see power as it actually is, drop this in the comments. I see the will, in them, in me, in everything. Lesson 6. The man who can step outside the will, even briefly, is untouchable. Schopenhauer believed the will could not be destroyed, but it could be temporarily transcended. And in that transcendence, a man finds something the will can never give him. Genuine rest, not the rest after exhaustion, the rest that comes when the wanting stops, and you are simply present without agenda. These happen in art, in nature, in genuine absorption in work so complete that the self disappears. These are not small things. These are the highest experiences available to a human being. They replaced these with stimulation,
Because a man in genuine absorption is a man whose will they cannot activate, and a will they cannot activate is a man they cannot move. Practical move. Find your absorption, the work, the art, the physical practice that takes you out of wanting completely. Then protect it. That space is sacred. When you return from absorption, you return changed. The will is still there, but you have seen what is possible beyond it, and that changes what you tolerate. You stop tolerating the shallow, the performed, the will-driven noise that fills most human interaction, because you have tasted the alternative. Schopenhauer built his entire life around protecting these moments of transcendence, his walks, his music, his solitude, not luxuries, necessities, the only real freedom he knew. Build yours. The will return, it always does, but you will know it is the will and not you, and that difference is everything.
You came here with a self you believed was entirely yours. Every desire yours, every fear yours, every choice yours. Schopenhauer just showed you the architecture beneath all of it, the will, ancient, blind, running you from below. The old you is dead, the one who thought he was fully the author of his own story. That man was real, and he was partially wrong. What replaces him is something rarer, a man who knows what is driving him. And a man who knows what is driving him can decide whether to follow it, redirect it, or step outside it entirely. You are a weapon pointed at your own future, not blindly, as the will would have you, consciously, with open eyes and the full map of what you are. Schopenhauer gave you the most dangerous gift a philosopher can give, an accurate map of the enemy inside you, which turns out to also be your greatest power. Used unconsciously, the will makes you predictable, exploitable, small. Used consciously, it is the most powerful engine available to a human being. You belong to no one, not to the will's blind agenda, not to the people who learned to trigger it, not to the version of yourself the will was building without your input. You are the awareness that watches the will. You are not the will, and the moment you know that, truly know it, nothing can own you. That is Schopenhauer's hidden truth. It was never supposed to reach you. Now it has. If this reached you, something in you already knew it was true. That was the will recognizing its own description. Codex of power exists for the man who was done being run by forces he was never shown, done being predictable to people who understood his will better than he did. Subscribe, but only because you have decided this knowledge is yours, not because the will told you to, because you chose to. Every video on this channel puts another piece of the map in your hands. Schopenhauer gave you the foundation. The rest is being built. One question. Sit with it tonight. Now that you know the will is running beneath every decision you make, what is the one choice in your life you are going to make differently tomorrow?